Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite _UK, top-tier rugby analysis leadership lessons from the Red Roses. Subscribe to the channel now.
The England national team, proudly nicknamed the Red Roses, opened the tournament with a dominant victory over Wales. At that moment, I believed that not only the supporters, but the players themselves could feel a powerful surge of energy flowing through the squad. The run of 11 consecutive wins beforehand, extended to 12 after the opening triumph, was no coincidence. It reflected meticulous preparation, discipline, and a carefully constructed tactical foundation, yet elite rugby has never been about the past. It is always a test of the present. And this is where I began to see the turning point of the story, when the subsequent performances against Scotland and Ireland became unbelievably poor. I felt disappointed not because of defeat, but because of a psychological drift. When a team starts looking too far ahead, toward Super Saturday against France, toward the possibility of a Grand Slam, they inadvertently trade focus on the immediate challenge. In my view, that is the fine line between ambition and complacency. Head coach Steve Borthwick has long been regarded as pragmatic, cautious, and rarely overly talkative.
So when he publicly mentioned the title-deciding clash with France early in the tournament, it was surprising. Eddie Jones, former England head coach, even questioned whether there might have been influence from the RFU. One thing I understand is that in professional sport, media and financial considerations always run alongside technical matters. Pressure from governing bodies, the need to attract fans, ticket revenues, all are real. But when public messaging leans too heavily toward the future, it can create a subtle psychological shift among players. And in elite sport, subtle can make an enormous difference. I was particularly struck by one detail. Players read everything, their families read everything. And they discussed traveling to France to watch the decisive match. It sounds normal. But I understand that once the mind begins dwelling on a future scenario, it is no longer fully anchored in the present. A small fraction of focus is lost. And opponents like Scotland or Ireland need no more than that to exploit.
The defeat to Scotland was described as being figured out. To me, this was not only a tactical failure but a failure to maintain sharpness. When a team is on a long winning streak, it is easy to believe the machine is strong enough to run on its own. In reality, every match is a new examination. Opponents study you more closely than you think. I clearly sensed the psychological shift Eddie Jones mentioned: disappointment, a feeling of being threatened, and uncertainty about how to turn things around. This is deeply human, and it is precisely here that leadership becomes decisive. When Owen Farrell was injured and Laws took over as captain, a sense of unity was reignited. When Farrell returned, he injected further strength into the group. I believe leadership in sport is not simply about speaking loudly or dictating tactics. It is about connecting emotions, maintaining composure, and reminding the group of its core values. Looking at the defeat to Ireland, I did not see a team lacking skill.
I saw a team losing psychological direction. Once you begin to doubt yourself, every small mistake becomes magnified. And once confidence cracks, it is extremely difficult to repair within 80 minutes. I also sympathize with the view that sometimes a coach can do no more during a match. Eddie Jones once described sitting beside Sir Alex Ferguson watching Manchester United play, realizing that after 2 substitutions there was nothing more to adjust. In that moment, everything depends on the players on the pitch. When Borthwick introduced Marcus Smith and Jamie George, it was a clear attempt to shift the momentum. Jamie George was mentioned as someone who creates connection and transmits energy. But if the mental foundation has already been shaken, a few personnel changes are unlikely to reverse the entire tide. I do not want to place all the blame on the coach or the players. Sport is a combination of tactics, psychology, external pressure, and social expectation.
France's 10-point lead with 2 matches remaining effectively closed the door on the title dream. Yet, in my view, that defeat holds significant value. If they are willing to confront it honestly, I draw a clear lesson for myself: never live too much in future scenarios and forget the present task. In work, study, or personal life, when I begin thinking too far ahead, about ultimate success or big outcomes, I tend to neglect the small steps in front of me. And it is precisely those small steps that determine success. I have also learned that leadership is not always about holding the highest authority. Sometimes it is the person who preserves unity when things begin to fracture. In my own environment, that might be a calm colleague during a crisis, or myself, when I must steady my own mindset under pressure. I believe we also need a fair and honest perspective.
Criticism is easy. Understanding the psychological factors behind failure is far more difficult.
England did not suddenly become weak after 2 matches. They were still the team that had won 12 in a row. What changed was focus and mentality. If they rebuild from a leadership foundation, maintain a humble message, and approach each match one at a time, I believe they can return even stronger. This setback may be a timely reminder before entering even greater competitions. I will close with one thought: success demands not only talent, but clarity of mind. In any journey, the most dangerous moment is not when we are weak, but when we begin to believe we are nearing the summit. That is precisely when focus must be tightened more than ever. For the Red Roses, this season may not end with a trophy. But if they learn to keep their minds in the present, strengthen leadership, and manage media pressure, I believe many opportunities still lie ahead.
Scrum Masters Elite_UK bids farewell. Stay grounded, lead with strength, and come back stronger.